Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll be taking a look at one of the latest and greatest from our good friends over at Thermaltake. This is the Thermaltake Toughpower GF3 ARGB. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so in today's video we'll be taking a look at the Thermaltake Toughpower GF3 ARGB. This is the 850 watt version. There's actually two models of this currently available on the market, 750 watts and 850 watts. So depending on which one you like and which price you prefer, then potentially this might be right for your next high-end build. Now this is a high-end power supply and has all the usual features you'd expect to see with a high-end power supply. Pretty much every type of voltage protection you can possibly imagine, and also it's backed up with a 10-year warranty, which is absolutely awesome. This is based on the Channel Technologies CSZ platform, which has been custom modified by themselves and Thermaltake to give you the best possible platform for your PC for the money. Now, for those of you that have seen previous videos on some of the Toughpower power supplies, then you'll know pretty much what to expect here. It's a very nice premium package. It comes with all the cables you could possibly need and potentially a ton more. It comes with PCI Express Gen 5 compatibility and is fully ATX 3.0 compatible. Something that you possibly haven't seen before on this type of power supply is addressable RGB lighting. Now, for some of you, I know immediately you're just going to switch off, you're not interested at all, but there are a large community, and it's actually a growing community of people that just love their addressable RGB lighting. I personally love it. I think it brightens up things and yeah, like it or hate it, it's here to stay. So it's nice to see that Thermaltake have kind of stepped out in that direction and added addressable RGB to one of their more premium power supplies. So in today's video, we're going to go through, do an unboxing, go through the packaging, see what you get. We'll fire up the power supply and see what the addressable RGB looks like and how you can control it and check out all of the cool features. So let's start with the packaging. So as you can see, this is a weighty box. So it's from Thermaltake, obviously, we've said that already. You've got all the usual suspects covered on the addressable RGB. It is the Toughpower GF3 ARGB, 80 plus certified. It does also have a cybernetics rating as well of gold and also -A for the noise levels. Now you can find out more about both of those in the video description. I'll post links to them so you can directly check out the specifications. So this is 850 watt, like I said, also available in a 750. This is part of currently a range of 8 different power supplies under the GF3 banner. So if you don't like RGB, there's going to be something for you, ranging from about 1600 watts down to kind of like the 600, 650 watts. So should be something for everybody. This is a fully modular power supply system and supports up to 16.8 million colors. It is fully PCI Express Gen 5 compatible. So when those graphics cards finally come out, then you'll be able to use them. But don't worry, if you're on an older graphics card, you can still use that 16-pin connector, so the 12+4, which will supply up to 600 watts of power. It is pretty new technology, but don't worry, we've got you covered. If you're using a slightly older graphics card, which is using the traditional PCI Express connectors, the 6+2s, the 8 pins, etc., it's fully supporting those also, as we'll see when we check out the cables later. Also directly supports the ATX 3.0 specification from Intel and exceeds it by quite a large margin. You've got the smart zero fan technology, so if you want it to be silent, you can do. There is a switch on the back which will switch it between the kind of passive mode and active mode. You've also got 100% Japanese capacitors from the likes of people like Rubicon, Nishikon, etc. So very high quality capacitors. And like I said, it's all backed up with a 10-year warranty, which is awesome. On the side of the box, it shows you more about the smart zero fan. So there's basically a toggle switch, so you can turn that on or off should you wish to enable or disable that feature. On the other side, it talks more about the addressable RGB and what it can do. So you can synchronize your ARGB with the rest of your system's lighting, whether you're with ASUS, whether you're Gigabyte, ASRock, etc, etc. Basically, if you've got a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB connector on your motherboard, then you can sync it with it. But don't worry, if you haven't got one of those on your motherboard, which kind of, I think you probably will have if you're spending this much money on a power supply, but if you haven't, don't worry, there are 2 buttons on the back so you can cycle through the colors and also the lighting modes. Moving around to the back of the box, so this is the business end, so it talks about all the specifications. So you've got the 80 plus gold certified efficiency, you've also got the ultra quiet zero fan, extremely strict voltage regulation as shown there, which completely exceeds the ATX 3.0 specifications, and also you've got your low ripple and noise design, etc. Like I said, there's going to be more details on that in the links in the video description if you want to check out the cybernetics and also the 80 plus results for this particular power supply. On this side, it says about the connector specifications. I'll give you a quick close-up on those, but we'll go through those in greater detail in the video. And also you've got the output specifications. Now, unlike some manufacturers, which are a little bit kind of, let's say, not entirely genuine about some of their specifications, this has 850 watts on the 12-volt rail, which is how most modern power supplies are rated. And then you've got an additional 100 watts available on the 3.3 and 5-volt rails. Something of interest, actually, this can surpass the rated wattage quite easily as well. This has been tested by Thermaltake themselves at up to just under 1300 watts of power. So a massive 150% over wattage there, and it passed those tests. Again, links for that will be in the video description. So let's take a look inside the box and see what we actually get. So you get all the usual stuff. So you get all of your regulatory notices and also an instruction manual on how to install a power supply, which is pretty handy. Decent styrofoam there to keep hold of everything. You do also get a bag of cables, so again, Thermaltake, nice little bag there. So if you are doing a build and you don't want to use all your cables, which is kind of one of the benefits of having a fully modular power supply, you can put any cables you don't use in this bag and keep it handy. So if you upgrade, then you can just grab your bag and grab your cables to upgrade your system. And last of all, we get the power supply itself, which comes in, again, some more protection, and you can do the unveil. So there you go, there is your Thermaltake power supply. It's quite a beast, and I really do like the design of this. They ticked all the boxes in my opinion, so it's a good power supply, got all the quality features in there, but it also looks nice as well, which for some people is actually important. If you're maybe building in a rig where you've got an open chassis and everything is visible, this is going to look very premium inside your rig. And also they do have the labels on both sides, so if you're a little bit concerned that maybe you're going to mount it fan up, which potentially you might want to do because of the addressable RGB lighting, so it's visible, the sticker on this side is still visible, so you can show off your power supply branding. So ventilation on both sides, where you've got your label. You've also got all of your connectivity on this end, including our 12-volt high power. So this is for the new PCI Express Gen 5 graphics cards. You've got a further 3 8-pin connections, which are going to be for either CPU, EPS, or PCI Express, depending on your configuration. So those are interchangeable, so you can use combinations. Next up, we've got our peripheral connections. So that's for your SATAs and PATA drives, etc., or maybe connecting up fan controllers, that sort of thing. Also at the bottom, you've got a split 24-pin connector for your main power supply, and the thing that you're going to be using potentially, if you bought this for RGB purposes, is the RGB sync cable output there, which uses its own specific cable, which we'll talk about and look at a little bit later. Other things of note, on the top you've got the sticker on there, basically replicating what was on the box, so it tells you all of your power ratings, yeah, all the technical specifications, which probably you're never ever going to look at, but still you can do if you want to. On this end, you have got your power switch, nice big clicky power switch. You've also got a little sticker over there, over the actual power section, and that reveals a standard power plug. Actually, on the sticker, it tells you exactly how the smart fan system works, so I'll give you a close-up of that so you can see what that is all about. Underneath, you've got some more switches. So you've got your smart zero fan switch, so you can turn that on or off, obviously depending on which mode you choose. And you've got 2 more buttons for color and mode. So color is for changing your RGB colors, and mode is changing the actual type of display you're having. So whether it's a swirl, flash, static, or potentially even just turning it off altogether. And on the main side, you've got the Thermaltake logo and this massive 140mm fluid dynamic bearing fan, which looks absolutely great. I have fired this up on a stream previously and earlier whilst I was creating some B-roll. And I really do like the way this looks. They've got 18 RGB LEDs in there, so you can create a very nice lighting effect. If you're going for maybe an underglow effect in your PC, then that is possible. Or again, if you're having an open test bench, such as maybe the P6 or P8 chassis from Thermaltake, you can have this on show and show off your RGB lighting. Also, I have taken this apart and had a look inside, because they did say it was 100% Japanese caps, and I've taken it apart and had a look inside, and it definitely is. There's a huge Rubicon cap, which is your main one, which is rated at 105C, and all the others are a combination of Nichicon, Nichikemicon, yeah, basically loads of Japanese caps, all rated to 105C. Something else I did notice actually inside is the soldering. It's not something that you normally look at, because generally you should never take one of these things apart, but actually taking it apart and looking inside, it's all done very neatly, and the manufacturing process appears to have been done particularly well. So that's the power supply out of the way. Let's take a look at our cabling, which is in this nice Velcro bag. Sorry for the ASMR there. So you're going to get a power lead to connect up to your local power source. Next up in the bag is the kind of star of the show at the moment. So this is your 12-volt high power connector for modern graphics cards. This is a simple 16-pin setup, so 12 for power, 4 for data. So those will tell the power supply, what graphics card is actually connected to it and how much wattage it actually needs to draw, etc., which is very clever. So it's a very smart system. And of course with that there is things like over voltage protection and all that kind of usual stuff. The cable itself is using 16 gauge cabling, as is pretty much most of the main cables on here. And also you're looking at 600mm in length. So let's fire through the rest of the cables. So this is the 24-pin main power connector. Again, 16 gauge cabling on there. This one, nice and thick and juicy. We're also looking at 600mm in length, so plenty of room to work with in even slightly larger cases. Next up is your EPS connector. So this is the 4+4 or 8-pin connector. They've actually done a cool thing here. So these are actually piggybacked as well. So if you've got 2 of these connections on your motherboard, you can connect up both at the same time. I guess it's not entirely the right way of doing it, but again, they're using 16 gauge cable, so you shouldn't have any issues with power delivery. This one again is 700mm in length. A little bit longer than the previous ones, again, because your EPS is generally towards the top of your motherboard, it's got a little bit further to go, so they've given you a little bit of extra length. And who could possibly complain about a bit of extra length? Next up is going to be for those of you that are rocking slightly older graphics cards, or potentially ones that aren't adhering to the 12-volt high power connection. So this is your PCI Express connections. Same sort of deal. So these ones here, flat black cables, 16 gauge cable, and each one has 2 lots of connectors. So 2 lots of 6+4. This one's slightly shorter. Again, graphics cards generally at the bottom, so these are 550mm, plus you've got an extra 150mm between each one of the 2 connectors. So depending on your setup, you can stretch it across. And there's actually 2 of these cables included, so up to 4 PCI Express connections actually available. Next up is our SATA connections. So there's actually 12 SATA connections available. So if you wanted to make some kind of file server, then that's going to be very easy to do. There's 3 cables, each one of which has 4 connections on it. And with these, you're looking at 600mm between the plug and the first cable, and then an additional 150 between each one, giving you an approximate total length of each cable of about 1 meter. One of the last ones is our PATA, or Molex style connection, as we're commonly referred to. This is pretty much the same deal. So there are 4 connections on the cable. There's only 1 cable included. And again, 600mm plus an additional 150 between each one of the cables, giving you a total length of approximately 1 meter. This is going to be great for some of the things that actually will be useful if you're a Thermaltake fan and you've got some of Thermaltake's own custom RGB hubs, which you will need an adapter for, which is one of these. So this converts the Molex connection, the 4-pin, into the kind of floppy drive style connector, which for some reason Thermaltake have adopted for their RGB lighting. I guess it's because you can get 12 volts through there quite easily. Decent connection, strong, works very well. So you do get one of those as well. That one is 200mm in length. And last of all, you've got the addressable RGB connector. So this one again, nice and long. So this is about 700mm in length, plus there's an additional 150 between the end connectors. So one end goes into the power supply, the other end is your 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB. And for those of you with possibly gigabyte boards or other manufacturers, there's also a VDG connection, which is basically the alternative version. So that's got you covered in both respects. Okay, so this is the bit that some of you have been waiting for. This is the RGB lighting, and as you can see, it is on currently, and we're currently in smart fan mode. So this will actually stay completely silent and won't move at all until the power supply gets up to somewhere in the region of about 45 degrees, or at least it senses 45 degrees. And then the fan will kick in, which is excellent. If you want to turn it on, there's a little switch on the back. So like I said earlier, just flip that on, which is that one there. And then it will be in kind of active mode, so it will spin all the time. It's actually pretty quiet, even though you can hear there's a very little bit of noise. That is going to be evident. All power supplies will make a little bit of noise just for air moving. I am particularly sensitive to fan noise, but this doesn't bother me at all in the slightest, so that's pretty good. Again, if you don't want to have it on at all, or you want it to be static, then you can do that. You've got the 2 buttons on the back, so you can go through options of lighting styles and lighting modes and just press the button. You can switch through all those however you want to, so pulse, flash, wave, etc. And also you can individually change colors, so if you want a specific color, so you've got your reds, your greens, blues, various blues, magentas, pale blues, red, etc. And you can go, basically choose whatever you want, or just stick with a static, flow, loads and loads of options there. Realistically, I think most people won't be using those buttons, although it's nice to have them there. Most people will probably plug it into their motherboard and use their software, such as MSI Sensor, ASRock's Polychrome Sync, etc., etc. So overall, I think this is a fantastic power supply, and I cannot wait to get it installed in my PC behind me, which I'll be doing very shortly. In fact, probably as soon as the camera has finished rolling. So if you've got any comments or questions on this power supply going on, then I'll be able to answer those very easily for you, because literally it'll be in the PC behind me. Overall, great power supply. Again, all the sort of things that are covered there. So you've got over voltage protection, under voltage protection, over temperature protection, you've got short circuit protection, surge protection, and inrush current protection, just to name a few. So plenty of things there. A very solid, sturdy construction, and the CWT CSZ platform is a very reliable platform used by an absolute ton of manufacturers. They all take their little twists on it and add a few things and tweak the actual PCBs, capacitors, etc. But in general, the CSZ platform is a absolutely fantastic one to do, and I can highly recommend it. So there you go, that has been the Thermaltake Toughpower GF3 ARGB 850 watts. Don't forget, two versions available at the moment, 750 watt or 850 watt. I'll try and put some links and some pricing in the video description below so you can check out for yourselves. But in the meantime, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.